Are you looking for the best wire feed welder? In this video we will look at some of the 4 best welder on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Starting at number 1. Hobart Handler 140 MIG Welder 115V. Since 1917, Hobart Welding Products has maintained a high level of standard across their welding machines and welding supplies. They specialize in crafting durable, safe machines, which is why all Hobart welders come with their incredible 5/3/1 warranty on parts and performance. Few companies can match Hobart's longevity in the industry or their dedicated product support. That means buying a Hobart welder isn't just ensuring you'll have a high-quality machine in your shop today, but in the years to come. The Hobart Handler 140 MIG welder ranks as one of my all-time favorite machines for one simple reason: it does everything it says it can do better than the competition. I've yet to have a problem with this welder. As a 115V welder, it has a basic 3-prong house plug and runs off a 15 amp breaker. If possible, I recommend either a dedicated 15 amp breaker or a 20 amp breaker. Comers to welding may find that dialing in the Hobart can be tricky, and they'll likely pop the breaker a few times. This is a very reliable machine. I can easily see why Hobart claims it's their top-selling device. It can run both flux core and MIG, which means either a gasless flux wire or a C25 shielding gas. They work very well with zero performance issues aside from learning the machine's wire feed speed. Opening up the side panel for the first time, I was happy to see Hobart installed an industrial-rated cast aluminum drive system. Many of the welders you'll find on my list and in stores reduce their price by installing plastic wire drives. While they work fine, they break easily and wear out fast. Once a wire drive is toast, you must buy a new unit. So the money spent on a machine with an aluminum drive, in my opinion, is well worth it. The arc performance on the Hobart Handler 140 is stable and precise. With a 5-position voltage control, you'll weld with a stable arc regardless of your power setup in the shop or at home. The machine ships with everything you need to start the moment you open the box, including a 10-foot wire feed gun, ground clamp, sample wire spool, contact tips, dual gauge regulator, quick select drive roll, and a power cord. I recommend the 140 Handler by Hobart for both professionals looking for a MIG welder and newcomers that want the freedom to experiment with flux core and gas welding. Weighing under 60 pounds, it's ideal for on-site welding, too. At number 2. Forney Easy Weld 140 FCI MIG Welder. In the mountainous terrain of Fort Collins, Colorado, Forney Industries builds machines as rugged as the landscape. Since the 1930s, fabricators and metalworkers have sworn by Forney machines. That level of detail and craft is why I chose the compact Easy Weld 261 as my second pick. It's a fantastic option for high wind conditions and locations that cannot store shielding gas. As a gasless flux core machine, the 261 can weld 24-gauge steel up to 1/4 thick. I've even seen some reviews that claim it can weld thicker metals, but that depends on your skills with flux core wire feed machines. This is a lightweight and capable machine. At less than 20 pounds, you can cart this thing wherever you need with minimum back strain. The convenience translates to an ideal at-home or do-it-yourself consumer that must cart their welder to a friend's shop or into the backyard. The only downside to the Forney Easy Weld 140's design is that it outputs 140-volt power. That caps its welding ability to a 15 or 20 amp breaker. For the hobbyist, that's probably not a bad thing. But if you own a shop with a dedicated 40 amp breaker, I advise purchasing another machine. The wire feed on this welder is dead simple to use. As a budget device, Forney cut costs by supplying a plastic drive. I had no problems using it, but be careful not to crack the adjustment knob or locking mechanism. Replacing the machine is cheaper than installing a new plastic drive. The Forney Easy Weld 140 outfits you with the basics. You'll need contact tips and a spool of flux core wire to begin your welding project, so don't forget to buy those too. In the box, you get the welding machine, wire feed gun, and ground clamp. Dialing in the wire speed and voltage will take you less than 5 minutes thanks to the easy-to-use voltage and wire knobs on the front of the device. They have a satisfying resistance when you tweak them, a bonus that cheaper machines often lack. The chart on the back of the bay door breaks down your duty cycle ratios. At 90 amps, expect to run this machine for 3 minutes every 10-minute cycle. I see the Easy Weld 140 as an ideal purchase for a beginner that doesn't expect to MIG weld in the next few years. Pros that need an easy-to-carry flux core welder for quick jobs in hard-to-reach places should consider this machine, too. At number 3. Super Deal Pro MIG 130 AC Flux Core Wire Feed Welder. Consumers searching for the ultimate in budget-friendly products online have latched onto Super Deal because they've mastered the thin line between affordability and quality. They sell everything from jewelry cabinets to washing machines. And for my money, the MIG 130 AC Flux Core Wire Feed Welder stands out as an ideal candidate for those looking to try out welding for the first time. Although Super Deal stamped MIG on the front of this machine, it's not a MIG welder. This is a wire feed flux core welder that plugs into a 15-amp socket. At less than 30 pounds, it's lightweight and contains everything you need to weld straight away. For me, the biggest surprise was that this machine worked at all. At this price, I expected the welder to produce an unstable, unusable arc, but that wasn't the case. After some adjusting, I could churn out a steady feed of wire and weld upwards of 1/8 steel. The downside to the price of this machine is that the components aren't as durable as a Lincoln Electric or Hobart machine. The wire feed drive is made of plastic, same with the PVC shell that covers the welder. So those of you that are rough with your tools should look elsewhere. Using Super Deal's MIG 130 is very simple. There are 2 switches on the front panel that adjusts the amperes to its high and low setting. The wire feed knob sports an authentic resistance and supports infinite adjustment. The best part is that this welder comes with everything you need, including a wire feed gun, contact tips, a spool of flux core wire, ground clamp, wire brush, and face mask. If you're new to welding and just want to tinker with jobs in your shop, I recommend the Super Deal Pro Commercial MIG 130 AC Flux Core Welder. At number 4. Goplus MIG 130 Flux Core Wire Automatic Feed Welding Machine. For you hobbyists debating which budget welder to purchase, add this one to your list, too. Like the Super Deal, the Goplus MIG 130 Flux Core Welder champions the idea that you don't need hundreds of dollars to weld at home. Just a note, this is another machine that states on the box it's a MIG welder. In truth, it's a flux core welder. There's no port on the front or back for inert gas, and it cannot run MIG wire. Either way, as a flux core machine it runs very well, especially when factoring in the cost. I like that Goplus fabricated the body of the MIG 130 in stainless steel, but the downside is it's heavier than other options on my list, at 35 pounds. It's still easily carted in the back of a truck or shoved into storage in a little garage shop. Welding with the Goplus requires very little setup. There's a switch on the front panel that flips between 2 voltages. I advise staying on low voltage unless you have a 20-amp breaker. As an AC welder, it can pop a 15-amp breaker if it's running too long. Because it's a 1 out of 10 machine, you'll be using it in bursts. I consider this a good thing since the flux core wire it ships with smokes more than most. Make sure you have adequate ventilation when using this welder. The wire feed adjustment will be where you tinker the most. Everyone that owns one of these Goplus welders has found different speeds to be ideal. For me, I finally locked it in at 3.5. But some said they needed to tweak it up to 5 or more. These are just minor complaints to an otherwise fantastic budget machine. I recommend the Goplus MIG 130 to newcomers and hobbyists looking for a flux core machine that includes everything you need to begin welding.